Football America's coverage of the Copa America continues with a look at the Los Angeles skate park, which is fitting because not all that far from Los Angeles, California, in Arizona, Colombia skated past Panama and into the semifinals with a 5-0 victory, moving on to the last four. Welcome into our Los Angeles studios. Alongside Casey Keller and Hercules Gomez, I'm Sebastian Salazar. Great to have you with us. As we mentioned, the game that just ended, my oh my, what a performance from Colombia. Casey, you kind of called it. You said you didn't think it would be all that close against Panama, and it certainly wasn't. A couple goals from Colombia in the first 15 minutes of the game. They'd rattle off 3 more, and the final score, 5-0 there in the desert of Arizona. Colombia are through to the semifinals. Panama, one of only 2 CONCACAF countries to make it to the knockout rounds, are going home. All right, for more on this one, let's welcome into the coverage our good friend and colleague, Alejandro Moreno. Ale, just how good were Colombia in this game?
Yeah, first of all, that was a very cute intro there, Seb. Really good job.
Thank you.
Very good.
All right.
You connected 2 worlds. It was great.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Skating on
I'm
in.
really
Skating
engaged
on in.
now.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was up all night waiting
well,
for that one.
I can tell you, given that this is Football Americas, I imagine that I could make this conversation and look at it from the perspective of the United States and say, oh boy, that's the team we lost to. But I'm not going to do that because they're eliminated. They're out of the competition. I'll make this about Colombia and how impressive they were. We knew it was always going to be difficult for Panama. And we figured that Colombia were going to be dominant. Were they dominant? I mean, passing the ball all over the place, 1 and 2 touches, all A's all over the place, and rightfully so. The pace with which they were playing the game, the patience with which they were building, but whenever they decided to go with speed, then you see that change of pace, and in the middle of all of it is James Rodriguez, who, if you give him time and space, I don't know if Panama knows this, but if you give James Rodriguez time and space, even at this point in his career, he can still find a pass. He can still connect. He can still drive this team forward. And what I really liked about Colombia today as well in the attack is that Luis Diaz wasn't just parked on the left-hand side, was actually working and drifting towards the inside. You have John Cordova, who's a truckload of a man to try to hang on to and hold on for the center backs. He occupies the center backs, which then frees up Luis Diaz to run in behind. Richard Rios was excellent. You name it. Colombia in every line today were pretty impressive, and it's hard to see a scenario by which anybody troubles Colombia after today's performance. Now, the other thing that I think was great for Colombia today is that towards the end of the match, and really for the last 30 minutes or so, it's a training session. So James Rodriguez, come and sit down. You come and sit down. You come and sit down. Luis Diaz, yeah, get some rest. I imagine that feeling that Colombia had today towards the end of the game will be different than what either Brazil or Uruguay will have at the end of their game. Their game is going to be stressful physically and mentally, whereas Colombia is sitting back saying, 5-0, baby. We're waiting for anybody, and we're ready for anybody.
You thought Panama would keep it close. Why didn't they?
Well, I thought they would keep it respectable. Neither came true. They were outclassed. They were outclassed in all facets. They made it interesting. About 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes there. But Colombia was too much. And I do have a few things to say here. And Panama was never going to be in this game. I always thought they were going to lose, but I thought they would do it in a respectable manner. They just, when you look at that talent level of Colombia and Panama here, Panama missing players in this tournament. Panama, certainly the less talented team, the less experienced team up against the ropes right here. What was going to happen, happened. But when you're chasing the game and you have a line of 5, you can't allow the spaces that Panama allowed. And James Rodriguez picked them apart. I mean, the ball that he played to Luis Diaz, for example, it's a free kick he puts down and he sees the run. And James Rodriguez today in Copa America is the best left-footed number 10 in this tournament. He's the best player in this tournament. 5 assists already. In every single game he's played, he's made an impact. He's been that good. But it's everybody else off of him. Today we saw Luis Diaz, his best performance. Granted, Panama. Granted, it was this CONCACAF opponent, and they weren't up to snuff. But we saw shades of the Luis Diaz we see in Liverpool. We saw shades of what we thought he was going to be this whole tournament. They're coming alive at the right time, and Ali said very well. They had the luxury of resting players. And now Brazil and Uruguay are certainly going to be in a fight, a very physical fight, and they will beat themselves up. They've got a good thing going right now, and they have the luxury of sitting down, waiting while they're healthy, see who comes out of this.
What impresses you most about this Colombia team right now?
I think they're very balanced. We've talked about that throughout, that they can stay compact defensively, they can not give up a lot of chances, and look very dynamic going forward in doing so. That's the goal for every team, is to be dynamic going forward and not then be suspect defensively. I'm going to go to Panama for a little bit as well. They needed to be perfect today, and they needed Colombia to be off. Going 2-0 down after 15 minutes, being as cavalier and reckless as they were, that was never going to be the case. They were always going to get picked off. Now, what they did do at 2-0 down was they said, you know what, we're going to lose anyway, let's go for it. And they actually caused some problems. There was another shout that CONMEBOL needs to get goal line technology in place before their next tournament. They caused some problems to Colombia, and then when they weren't able to capitalize off of it, it was always going to be one-way traffic after that. And then Colombia being extremely full of confidence on the run that they're on, the form that they're in, was then able to finish the job in style. And it's an advantage. It's an advantage for Colombia to go in now into the next round without being taxed. And they kind of felt that that was a possibility. The mentality started from the minute one of this match, and then their quality took over after that.
Ale, Casey mentioned the play in the 18th minute. Camilo Vargas, the Colombian goalie, saving the ball off the line or maybe from behind the line. What's your reaction to the fact we don't have goal line technology here in Copa America?
The same reaction that I would have if you asked me about the semi-automated offside system that CONMEBOL doesn't feature in this tournament, and therefore we are still tied to the drawing of the lines. And is it a straight line? Is it at an angle? Is it subjective? Is it objective? It would seem to be ideal for all parties involved, including the referees, that all of this would be available to them, but it's not. And what I would suggest is, while we can complain about it, and apparently that's what we do a lot of in this show, what also we can do is say everybody's playing under the same system and under the same guidelines. And so I know that that's perhaps a simplistic way to look at it, but the truth of the matter is that it's not like one game is being played with different rules than the next game. Everybody knows that this is the system that there is in place, and it kind of goes back to the United States against Uruguay and the complaint of whether that was a goal, was it not a goal, was it offside, was it not onside? Again, this is the system that we're playing with. It's not, obviously, it's not the best system. We're not quite there just yet, but everybody's playing with the same rules and regulations in front of them and all the same limitations. And so, I mean, I suppose we can make a case for Panama. Maybe they score that goal, maybe that goal counts, and then maybe there's a way back into the game. But then maybe I don't live my life in maybes. No. Panama has no chance and had no chance today against Colombia.
I agree with Ali. They didn't have a chance today, but Ali's thinking about it from the perspective of a player, of the people involved. I'm thinking about a perspective from a neutral. You got the Euros going on right now, and the ambiance looks electric. You've got the pitch. Obviously, the play on the pitch has a lot left to be desired, but goal line technology, the way to do offsides, it gives it a seriousness to the tournament. And I've played this tournament. Casey's played this tournament. Ali's played multiple times in the Copa America. You know how serious and how great of a tournament this is. I think oftentimes the neutral leaves like it's not that serious of a tournament because they don't have the investment when it comes to things like this, and that's unfortunate.
Europe has.
Exactly, and that's unfortunate.
We're seeing in the morning, they have it. Why don't you have it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you think it was in?
Do I think it was in?
Yeah.
Casey and I were arguing about this.
We just said we couldn't tell.
You couldn't tell. And if they call it a no goal, there's no way you can reverse it. But certainly, Camilo Vargas didn't know too much about it, but I would have loved, in a perfect world, to know if that's in, because you guys know very well, goals change games. And 2-1, that's a different story for Colombia. Maybe they're a little unsettled.
Maybe they lose 7-1.
Maybe they lose 7-1. That could be the case. But listen, every once in a while, something makes a team uncomfortable, and it gives another team something to build on.
What did you think, Casey?
the reason that technology is there to make sure that there's not a discussion if it's clearly, oh, there it is, done, goal, no argument. I think if we can all go in to the locker room after the match and go, okay, there's the tape. It was in, it wasn't in, it was offside, it wasn't offside. There's no argument. When technology in one region hasn't caught up with the technology of another, it still leaves that doubt. And if we can have no doubt, it makes it far less controversial.
No doubt in the final score of this game, then Colombia 5-0 winners over Panama, meaning Colombia are through to the semifinals at the Copa America. Just one more quarterfinal left. It's later tonight between Brazil and Uruguay, and we will be live on ESPN Plus immediately following the final whistle. Don't miss us. Fútbol Americas on ESPN Plus after the game.